who like to hang out on the YouTube side of things. We live over there now. Okay, Uncle JB. Look, did y'all get to watch? Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you, Gail. Look, did y'all get to watch? Well, I didn't send it to everybody. So now that I'm about to mention it, I'm going to post it today in the comment section for everybody. Uncle JB, Aunt Gay, and Shayla, did y'all watch the movie review of them? Yes. Woo, look now that he did that, he didn't explain it in a way that that I absolutely love how he brought out them points. I'm now going to tell the people about it, because at first I was like, "Ooh, this I can't share this without giving some kind of preface to this, you know." So I'm like, now that he's in, I'm like, yes, thank you, Father, I can share this with them. Okay, well, top of the day, you two beautiful people. Shalom, shalom. Okay, so y'all watched it? Great. So let me get the day started, and then we'll go into that real quick. So I'm gonna post it. Look, ooh, that was like right on time. Cause I like the way he was able to pull the parts out with the graphic. I'm not that technically savvy yet, where some of the stuff they be doing, I was like, oh, this will be perfect to be able to handle these graphics and stuff. But since he did it and he was able to do it, we're gonna use this brother's stuff, right? I always love Benayah Israel's information that he got. Like, yes, they put it out in plain sight. If you go on my YouTube page, on the playlist section, he is the one who does Hidden Hebrews, right? And he does all of his videos in an education format. I love the way he does it. He's not just talking like you see me just talking, but he's able to bring graphics up and show you the different things and pull it, right? So that's why I love the way he explains stuff, and I'm so glad he watched it. I'm so glad y'all told me to watch it. Okay, so before I say any more about that, happy Saturday, everybody. Happy Saturday. It is May the 8th, 2021, day 148 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 817. Remember, that is without the Sabbath days or the feast day Sabbath days added in, because we are commanded to rest. So we rest, right? Okay. All right. And so today we will be reading First Chronicles 26, 27, and 28. Then we're going to hop on over to Fossilized Customs and pick up where we left off yesterday. Okay, so now back to what we're talking about. Just in case you guys are lost, there is a movie. Well, it's not a movie. It's a series on, it was Netflix, right? A series on Netflix. Or was it Amazon? Was it Amazon or Netflix, y'all? Tell me real quick. I can't remember which one. I'll make sure I get it right. But if you go searching for it, you'll find on one or other. I believe it was Netflix because it's free, right? Was it Netflix? Shayla, Auntie, somebody. Which one was it? Netflix. Okay, Netflix. So if you have Netflix, you should be able to watch it. Now, I'm going to share. Here's what I recommend. Since I've already watched it, I would recommend first that you watch the 30-minute movie review from Benayah Israel, because it'll help you. Because of the nature of this movie, it's called Them. Like, you know, the movie Us, this one is called Them. It's not made by the same creators of Us, but nevertheless, some of the same principles are being brought out, but even more so. And it deals directly with our people, right? And what has happened to us over the last 400. Oh, I'm sorry, not Netflix, it's Amazon Prime, y'all. Okay, belay my last. It's not Netflix, it's Amazon Prime. So if you don't have Prime already, if you don't have Prime, get Prime. If not, you may have to purchase it. But those who have Prime, you're able to watch it. Yes, Tiffany, it's called, thank you, Hidden in Plain Sight. The review is called Hidden in Plain Sight by Benayah Israel. Okay, so now, thank you for putting that up there. So I know some people trying to pull it up now, but I'm going to share the links to both of them. The Amazon Prime to the actual movie series is 10 episodes and his review. But I would personally recommend, like I said, because the nature of what you're about to see now is, he got a couple spoiler alerts, but they're not too bad. But I think you need to see it if you're going to make it through that series. Now, sometimes you can binge watch stuff. I could not binge watch it, and it's only 10 episodes. Now, I can binge watch stuff, but this, because of the nature, and it's raw, it's completely raw, dealing with what our people have dealt with. It's extremely graphic, so I would not watch it with your children. I would, even if you have teenagers, I would say you should watch it. If you decide to let your teenagers watch it, you should watch it before you let them watch it first. And not necessarily sexual, but there is one, if I remember, one sexual scene in there, and although it's not like showing naked bodies, it's graphic based on what like our captors did to us and what they did to the women. So it's one of those scenes in there. But when I say it deals with a lot of the stuff that we went through. It deals with the mental health issues and the racism. Like, I watched the first episode, then I watched the second, and I had to stop. I actually stopped for 2 days because all the emotions that it bring up on the inside of you, like, you gonna have to deal with that, And I'm like, look. And I was talking to my cousin Shayla, because her and my aunt called me on three-way, and they say, you heard about this? You need to go watch this, because it's hitting on all the points that we be, hitting on during our morning reading, right? I was like, okay, so they got me all hyped to go watch it. But as I started watching it, I started getting pissed. I'm like, why would they tell me to watch this? Now I got to think about all this stuff. So I'm like, all right, fine, let me calm myself down. Okay, this is not just, although what they did it in a movie, this is real life and what happened to our people. And it actually, depending on what you have experienced in your family, this is going to hit home in a lot of us living today, right? Because we still see a lot of this stuff happening. Shalom, Hezekiah. But so watch the review first, so it can kind of prepare you. And I'm saying some of this, I don't want to spoil it for you. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but I need you to be prepared for what you're about to see if you choose to watch it, right? Going to have some tissues ready for you, because it like I said, it hits home. Like some of the stuff, even some of my people being killed in the streets, I was like, well, you could have had a mental health expert come out here. Y'all knew this guy, he was dealing with issues. Why would you send somebody that's going to kill him instead of having somebody that's going to help him walk through this? But what happens is they go a little bit deeper. Instead of just saying, oh, they got mental health issues, they're going to show you like people who look like they have mental health issues is going to actually show you the true spiritual side. And these people are not crazy. What they are seeing is really there. They have been exposed to the spiritual realm. And even though they try to explain it to somebody, everybody else thinks they're crazy, but they're clearly not crazy. So when you see this, it's not a scary movie. I mean, it's not scary, but some of the scenes may seem scary, but I want to kind of prepare you ahead of time, just kind of uncover the boogeyman for you, So as you get to the last two episodes 9 and 10, is going to bring all of this stuff together. But it's like, as you're watching it and you walking through all of these emotions, it's gonna, like I said, you may not be able to binge watch it. It may take you a few days just to get through all 10 episodes, just because the nature of what we're dealing with the raw things that our people have been dealing with since as far as dealing with the slavery and all the horrible things that have happened to us, and how it's like mentally passed down through generations, right? It digs into all of this. But the portions where you think it's scary, like it's going to deal with the spirit in the basement, but it's going to uncover that, y'all. So just, if you can stick with it, stick with it. If you need to pray and prepare yourself before you watch, okay, Father, let me help me to be able to, just so you can get through it. So understand, it's not scary, although it's going to have some, sometimes things aren't scary unless they add the music to it. So just kind of be aware of all these things and just go through it like you're sitting through a class, trying to understand a clearer picture. And as you watch it, you're going to realize, and we talked about it, it's like everybody else knows what's going on with us except for us ourselves. We're just now waking up to what's really been going on. But the nations know. They're doing movies, hitting the nail right on the head, right? They've been knowing, right? And it's going to uncover for you who the devil really is, or who Satan really is. A lot of us know, but it's going to bring some things in perspective. And as this preacher guy, he's talking to, and it, oh, y'all got to watch it. And it, because we're on the portion where we're talking about Lord, Lord. That's who he's going to be talking to. But if you don't catch it while he's talking, as he's talking to his Lord, you're going to notice, if you pay attention, it's going to start off with a child. And they're using Caucasian people. So as he's talking to him, or he's giving him instruction or whatever, coming to him in the form of a child, you're going to notice that this child continues to change into different Caucasian people, from a child to a woman to a man. But, they're Caucasian, and it is just going to keep changing faces. So you got to pay attention to all those details. You may have to watch it a couple times, but watch it through once. I think the review of it'll help you for when you go through it the first time, and you can see in all of these things, and a lot of the things that even now we gotten into with some of this stuff, they've added that in there, and I think it's a really, 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 really good teaching lesson, or something that we can add to our learning, right? So I kind of want to give that long preface just to kind of prepare you, but I would truly recommend that you would watch. I mean, you a soldier, you can go right through it, and if you want to go through it yourself and you try and pull out before you hear anybody else give you the details of what they pulled out, if you a G, you go ahead and do that. But just be prepared for some of the things that it possibly may trigger you, especially our people. Maybe other nations who watch it won't trigger them like it'll trigger us, because it's personal for us, right? It dealing with some of the children and the adults, and the bondages and stuff, and how we have to keep our mouth shut about certain things to keep our life. It's really good. So you choose, but I would recommend that you watch Benayah's 30-minute preview of it first. That's my recommendation. You don't have to follow my recommendation. You can go through it first, then watch it afterward to see if what you concluded from the thing lines up with what he pulled, and then we should talk about this. We'll chat about it. Leave some comments over the next couple of days as y'all watch it, and we'll kind of hit on it. So that's what I wanted to say about that. The series is on Amazon Prime. It's called Them, THEM, and it almost reminds you of the cover of Us, the movie Us. But like I said, it's a 10 episode series, and they all average about an hour. So you could watch it all today, but like I said, I don't know that anybody has, at least from some of the things I went and pulled up after I seen all this, I don't know that there's anybody, at least of us. And I've even seen somebody who's not he's a Caucasian guy. He said he couldn't even sit and watch it back to back. And he said it opened his eyes to so many things, and it was like it brought him to tears, because he didn't really understand a lot of this, because he has a lot of colored friends or black friends or whatever. And he was talking to him, and he's like, man, and he was like, man, I'm sorry. I did not understand. I didn't know. Right. So watch that. Let me know what y'all get from it. Right. So, all right. So with that being said, beautiful people, let's go ahead and do the shimmer. It was another thing I had to say that I said I was going. Let's do the shimmer. Now I'll remember what it is. Okay. So, but I'll share the links for the series. It's called, like I said, I shared the links for the series, Them, and also the link for the 30-minute preview that Benayah, the review that Benayah Israel did. Yes, it uncovers the mask. Yeah, So, Shayla, very good point. So let's pull this up right here. And let's do the Shema. Oh, there's something I wanted to say too about the Shema. Shema, I always say, y'all clearly know now, from as long as we've been doing this, that Shema means pay attention, listen. But this morning when I was up, I actually pulled up the Strong's Concordance, and I pulled up the Strong's number on it, and I looked at it. And we call it Shema, but it's actually pronounced Shama, right? Shama, So I guess it'd be kind of hard to say Shema, right? I guess not Shema, right? But it's the proper, as they put the pronunciation in there, is SHAW-MAH. That's how you pronounce it. So Shema. Okay. And it's Strong's number H8085. And the definition, right, that goes down to the root is actually the primitive root. Shema is actually the base word that everything else is built off of for this particular thing. Joanne, shalom. And it means to hear intelligently, often with the implication of attention. So y'all know how to, hey, everybody, I need to get y'all attention. Everybody, look over here. Shema, right? It means to hear intelligently, often with implication of attention, obedience, causatively, to tell, attentively, call, gather together, carefully, certainly, consent, consider, be content, declare, diligently, discern, give ear, or cause to give ear, make to hear, hearken, tell, indeed, listen, make a noise, obedient, obey, perceive, make a perception about what we're about to say, right? So now that we got that, let's go ahead and do the Shema, right? Which is found in Deuteronomy chapter 6. Hear, therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuwah, the God of our fathers, has promised us, in a land that flows with milk and honey. Shema, hear, O Israel, Yahuwah, our God, he is one God. And you shall love Yahuwah your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart. And you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them upon the posts of your house and on your gates. And Yahuwah commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuwah our God for our good always, that he might preserve us alive as it is at this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahuwah our God, as he has commanded us. Okay, I know what it was. Yesterday, I brought up the point we were talking about. Women, right? How all women be out in the streets looking like freak shows, right? And we was talking about the wisdom of Yahuwah, and how when we go in and we allow Yahuwah's word, his words, right? The words that come out of Yahuwah's mouth, in the Torah, or the books of instruction, what he has commanded us, even things like this, cause them to hear, hearken, people, pay attention. Let's make a noise to get your attention, right? I was talking about that, and the woman that I was talking about, one of the ladies, matter of fact, look, one of the ladies that responded, her name on YouTube is Shema Israel, right? And so she responded on yesterday's video, and she was like, sis, were you talking about Judith? And I don't know, because I be talking about Judith a lot, but I knew the story, but I couldn't remember the name of who it was. But it was Judith that I was telling you about yesterday. So remember, I said the wisdom that comes from Yahuwah's words. And as we're learning, it's like the basic principles of how Yahuwah just says that he said these are basic things. Keep them. Teach your family, teach your sons and your daughters, right? But as we begin to do that to other people, those outside of us, it looks like, I said yesterday, it looks like sometimes it's like, are you a sage? It's like the wisdom coming from your mouth. Like what? But we like, these are like basic principles that Yahuwah is teaching us, because we set ourselves apart. We have a different instruction that keeps us, and it causes light to shine upon us, right? And people are drawn to that light. So the nation where Judith was at, and her husband had passed away, right? And after her husband was a good man, but he died in the field while he was out working, right? They had a business, they had employees, but whatever happened that day, said the sun beat down upon his head and he died in the field that day, right? But it was him and his wife, and they were pretty much ruling together, but he was like out front or whatever. But it talks about Judith and how she was a holy woman, and after her husband had passed away, she completely set herself aside to Yahuwah, right? And she only ate twice a week. She fasted 5 days a week, and she fasted 5 days a week, but on the day of preparation and the Sabbath she ate, right? So that was the course that she followed for the rest of her life. And while doing that, Yahuwah, she was already a pious and a very beautiful woman, that it says, right? She was already filled with wisdom. But after that had happened, Yahuwah bestowed even more wisdom upon her, to where they were coming up, I believe it was a furnace, and something was about to go down. And the men, not that they didn't have any wisdom, but they were kind of stumped at this point, and they knew her to be full of the wisdom of Yah. And they said, well, shucks, well, let's run this past Judith, see what she got to say, right? So the men went to her like, sis, this is what we got going on here. My men are here. We found this out, and we're praying, that we haven't really heard anything from Yah yet. So we're wondering if you can inquire to Yah, and we would like to see if he's speaking, if he's saying anything about this. And we trust that his spirit lives in you. So maybe you can hear for us, right? So she went, she was living a fasted life anyway, so it was easy for her to hear. But anyway, she did. She went and she prayed. Yahuwah gave her wisdom, right? And so it takes place, and you can actually find this in Judith chapter 10 and chapter 11. You can read the rest of the chapters that give you the ending details of it, but what I'm specifically talking about is in chapter 10 and 11 of Judith, which you can find in the Apocrypha, right? Some of your Bibles may have it if your Apocrypha is added back in, but if not, just pull it up. You'll be able to find it online. But what they found out when Judith came to them, they said, "Oh, wait, okay, well, Judith, well, you go do this, right? Yahuwah gave you the wisdom, you go do it." So she was like, "Well, Father, if this is your will, we're going to handle it," right? So when Judith came on the scene and they saw her, first of all, they were so captivated by her beauty that it was like it literally mesmerized them. But when she began to open her mouth and the law of kindness was on her lips and the wisdom that was flowing from it, they was like, well, where did she come from? Like, is she a representation of all the women of where she comes from? Like, here's what got them. They said, if where she come from, if their women are like this, what type of men do they have, right? Because a lot of times we know that when you walk in line, that the women are a reflection of the men, right? And so by them seeing the women like this, they were probably thinking these men are beasts. Ooh, if their women got wisdom like this, how much wisdom and strength and power must the kings have where she comes from, right? So sis, I'm telling y'all, you got to get it together, right? Even if your king needs a little bit of help, cover him till the wisdom of Yah fills him, right? It'll be a protection to you and your entire household, right? So that it scared them, and it's like, oh, they can't become our enemies, because if their women are like this, we are not going to stand a chance with the men who are coming behind them, or the men that might be hiding out and sending her in to bait us in, right? And Judith had them shaking in their boots, right? And so what happened was, after she gave that wisdom, it was through Judith's wisdom that Yahuwah had given to her, because the men were inquiring. Yahuwah gave them strategy, told the men, go to Judith, right? Because Yahuwah will use different strategies, right? He'll use the men or he'll use the women, but he'll take the best course of action to get the best outcome. He said, for this strategy, send Judith. Y'all need to go talk to Judith, right? And so it happened like that. I'm like, yeah. So I said all that because I brought it up and I couldn't remember which woman it was, but it's Judith, right? So if you get a chance, go read Judith. Read the entire book of Judith over again. It's a really short book. It's a really short book, but if you want to get right to that, what I was talking about, it's Judith chapter 10 and 11. Okay, so Tootie, here you go. Here you go. Just press this. There you go. I'm gonna sit it right here for you. All right, y'all. So let's go ahead, and they ate all that last night, Pootie. Go check upstairs. Dad still has some. Well, don't eat Dad's. I have some. If you look on Dad's, look and check my box. See, there's a lot of stuff in there. Go check. All right, y'all. So with that being said, Hezekiah, that Shema definitely does get my attention when you say it like that, coming through my speaker system, listening. Oh, well, blessed be the most holy for your speaker system, Hezekiah. Shema. Okay, so let's go ahead with First Chronicles chapter 26. Oh, my screen went down. Sorry, hold on. Let me bring this back up. So what I'm gonna probably be doing today too, I'm gonna rewatch while I'm pulling this up because it closed out on me. I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna watch this overview that Benayah did about them again. And I may actually, I don't know that I can watch all the episodes. I think I might just jump back and watch 10 and 11 because them first few, it did something to me. I ain't even gonna lie. Okay. And I don't feel like crying today. So, but all right, y'all. Okay. So First Chronicles chapter 26. These are the divisions. Let's keep popping down. I'm sorry. Hold on. Okay. All right, here we go. Let's stay in place. Okay. First Chronicles chapter 26. The divisions of the gatekeepers from the Korathites, Meshelemiah, son of Korah, one of the sons of Asaph. Meshelemiah had sons: Zechariah the firstborn, Jadiel the second, Zebediah the third, Jethniel the fourth, Elam the fifth, Johanan the sixth, Elihone the seventh. Obed-Edom also had sons: Shemaiah the firstborn, Jehozabad the second, Joah the third, Sakar the fourth, Nathanael the fifth, Amiel the sixth, Issachar the seventh, and Peluthai the eighth, for Yahuwah had blessed Obed-Edom. Obed-Edom's sons, Shemaiah, also had sons who were leaders in their father's family because they were very capable men. The sons of Shemaiah, Othni, Raphael, Obed, Elzabad, his relatives, Elihu, Semachiah, were also able men. All these were descendants of Obed-Edom, and they and their sons were capable men with strength to do the work. Descendants of Obed-Edom, 62 in all. Meshelemiah had sons and relatives who were able men, 18 in all. Hosa and Merarite had sons. Shimri the first, although he was not the firstborn, his father had appointed him the first. Hilkiah the second, Tobilah the third, and Zechariah the fourth. The sons and relatives of Hosa were 13 in all. These divisions of the gatekeepers, through their leaders, had duties for ministering in the temple of Yahuwah, just as their relatives had. Lots were cast for each gate according to their families, young and old alike. The lot for the east gate fell to Shelemiah. Then lots were cast for his son Zechariah, a wise counselor, and the lot for the north gate fell to him. The lot for the south gate fell to Obed-Edom, and the lot for the storehouse fell to his sons. The lots for the west gate and the Shalekith gate on the upper road fell to Shupam and Hosa. Guard was along. Hold on. What? Okay. Guard was alongside of guard. There were 6 Levites a day on the east, 4 a day on the north, 4 a day on the south. Okay, well, maybe you shouldn't eat right now, Booty. Okay, but if you still want to eat while your tooth hurts, then just chew on the other side of your mouth. Don't chew on that side. Okay? Okay. There were 6 Levites a day on the east, 4 a day on the north, 4 a day on the south, and 2 at a time at the storehouse. As for the court to the west, there were 4 at the road and 2 at the court itself. These were the divisions of the gatekeepers who were descendants of Korah and Merari. Their fellow Levites were in charge of the treasuries of the house of Yahuwah and the treasuries for the dedicated things. The descendants of Laden, who were Gershonites through Laden and who were heads of families belonging to Laden, the Gershonite, were Jeheli, the sons of Jeheli, Zatham, and his brother Joel. They were in charge of the treasuries of the temple of Yahuwah. From the Amorites, the Izrahites, the Hebronites, and the Uzzielites. Shubael, a descendant of Gershom, son of Moses, was the official in charge of the treasuries. His relatives through Eleazar, Rehabiah his son, Jeshiah his son, Joram his son, Zikri his son, and Shelomith his son. Shelomith and his relatives were in charge of all the treasuries for the things dedicated by King David, by the heads of families who were the commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds, and by the other army commanders. Some of the plunder taken in battle, they dedicated for the repair of the temple of Yahuwah, and everything dedicated by Samuel the seer, and by Saul, son of Kish, Abner, son of Ner, and Joab, son of Zariah, and all the other dedicated things were in the care of Shelomith and his relatives. From the Izrahites, Kenaiah and his sons were assigned duties away from the temple as officials and judges over Israel. From the Hebronites, Hashabiah and his relatives, 1,700 able men, were responsible in Israel west of the Jordan for all the work of Yahuwah and for the king's service. As for the Hebronites, Jeriah was their chief according to the genealogical records of their families. In the 40th year of David's reign, a search was made in the records, and capable men among the Hebronites were found at Jazer in Gilead. Jeriah had 2,700 relatives who were able men and heads of families. King David put them in charge of the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh for every matter pertaining to Yahuwah and for the affairs of the king. All right, y'all, let's hop to the next chapter. First Chronicles chapter 27. Shalom, Mom, shalom. This is the list of the Israelites, heads of families, commanders of thousands, and commanders of hundreds, and their officers who served the king in all that concerned the army divisions that were on duty month by month throughout the year. Each division consisted of 24,000 men. In charge of the first division for the first month was Jeshobim, son of Zebediel. There were 24,000 men in his division. He was a descendant of Perez and chief of all the army officers for the first month. In charge of the division for the second month was Dodai, the Ahohite. Mikloth was the leader of his division. There were 24,000 men in his division. The third army commander for the third month was Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, the priest. He was priest, and there were 24,000 men in his division. This was the Benaiah who was a mighty warrior among the 30 and was over the 30. His son Amazabad was in charge of his division. For the fourth month was Asahel, the brother of Joab. His son Zebediah was his successor. There were 24,000 men in his division. For the fifth month was the commander Shamhuth the Israelite. There were 24,000 men in his division. For the sixth month was Ira, the son of Ikish the Tekoite. There were 24,000 men in his division. For the seventh month was Helaz, the Pilonite and Ephraimite. There were 24,000 men in his division. I need y'all to stay with me. I know a lot of people, when they're reading this by themselves, they just skip these chapters. And I used to do it too, till I realized it's very important to be able to track some stuff. If you're a researcher, right? And I'm a researcher, so I realize that these genealogies and all of this is really important. Okay. For the eighth month was Sibekai, the Hushathite, a Zerahite. There were 24,000 men in his division. For the ninth month was Abiezer, the Anathite, a Benjamite. There were 24,000 men in his division. For the 10th month was Maharai, the Netophathite, a Zerahite. There were 24,000 men in his division. For the 11th month was Benaiah, the Pithronite and Ephraimite. There were 24,000 men in his division. For the 12th month was Heldai, the Nephanite from the family of Othniel. There were 24,000 men in his division. Leaders of the tribes. The leaders of the tribes of Israel over the Reubenites, Eleazar, son of Zikri, over the Simonites, Shephatiah, son of Makkah, over Levi, Hashabiah, son of Kemuel, over Aaron, Zadok, over Judah, Elihu, a brother of David, over Issachar, Omri, son of Michael, over Zebulun, Ishmaiah, son of Obadiah, over Naphtali, Jeremoth, son of Azriel, over the Ephraimites, Hoshea, son of Azariah, over the half tribe of Manasseh, Joel, son of Pedaiah, over the half tribe of Manasseh in Gilead, Edo, the son of Zechariah, over Benjamin, Jasiel, son of Abner, over Dan, Azarel, son of Jehoram. These were the leaders of the tribes of Israel. David did not take the number of the men 20 years old or less, because Yahuwah had promised to make Israel as numerous as the stars in the sky. Joab, son of Zeruiah, began to count the men, but did not finish. Yahuwah's wrath came on Israel on account of this numbering, and the number was not entered into the book of the annals of King David. Asmaveth, son of Adiel, was in charge of the royal storehouses. Jonathan, son of Uzziah, was in charge of the storehouses in the outlying districts, in the towns, the villages, and the watchtowers. Ezri, son of Kilub, was in charge of the workers who farmed the land. Shimei, the Ramathite, was in charge of the vineyards. Zabdi, the Shipmite, was in charge of the produce of the vineyards for the wine vats. Baal-Hanan, the Gederite, was in charge of the olive and sycamore fig trees in the western foothills. Joash was in charge of the supplies of olive oil. Sitri, the Sharonite, was in charge of the herds grazing in Sharon. Shaphat, son of Aldai, was in charge of the herds in the valleys. Obil, the Ishmaelite, was in charge of the camels. Jediah, the Meronothite, was in charge of the donkeys. Jaziz, the Hagrite, was in charge of the flocks. All these were the officials in charge of King David's property. Jonathan, David's uncle, was a counselor, a man of insight and a scribe. Jahiel, son of Hakmoni, took care of the king's sons. Ahithophel was the king's counselor. Hushai, the Archite, was the king's confidant. Ahithophel was succeeded by Jehoiada, son of Benaiah, and by Abiathar. Joab was the commander of the royal army. All right, last chapter for today, y'all. 1 Chronicles chapter 28. David summoned all the officials of Israel to assemble at Jerusalem, the officers over the tribes, the commanders of the divisions in the service of the king, the commanders of the thousands and commanders of hundreds, and the officials in charge of all the property and livestock belonging to the king and his sons, together with the palace officials, the warriors, and all the brave fighting men. King David rose to his feet and said, "Listen to me, my fellow Israelite people. I had it in my heart to build a house as a place of rest for the ark of the covenant of Yahuwah, for the footstool of our God. And I made plans to build it. But Yahuwah said to me, you are not to build a house for my name, because you are a warrior and have shed blood. Yet Yahuwah, the God of Israel, chose me from my whole family to be king over Israel forever. He chose Judah as leader, and from the tribe of Judah, he chooses my family. And from my father's sons, he was pleased to make me king over all of Israel. Of all my sons, and Yahuwah has given me many, he has chosen my son Solomon to sit on the throne of the kingdom of Yahuwah over Israel. He said to me, Solomon, your son, is the one who will build my house and my courts, for I have chosen him to be my son, and I will be his father. I will establish his kingdom forever if he is unswerving in carrying out my commands and laws, and as is being done at this time. So now I charge you in the sight of all of Israel and of the assembly of Yahuwah and in the hearing of our God, be careful to follow all the commands of Yahuwah your God, that you may possess this good land and pass it on as an inheritance to your descendants forever. And you, my son Solomon, acknowledge Yahuwah, the God of your father, and serve him with wholehearted devotion and with a willing mind. For Yahuwah searches every heart and understands every desire and every thought. If you seek him, he will be found by you. But if you forsake him, he will reject you forever. Consider now, for Yahuwah has chosen you to build a house as the sanctuary. Be strong and do the work. Then David gave his son Solomon the plans for the portico of the temple, its buildings, its storerooms, its upper parts, its inner rooms, and the place of atonement. He gave him the plans of all that the Spirit had put in his mind for the courts of the temple of Yahuwah and all the surrounding rooms, for the treasuries of the temple of Yahuwah and for the treasuries for the dedicated things. He gave him instructions for the divisions of the priests and Levites, and for all the work of serving in the temple of Yahuwah, as well as for all the articles to be used in its service. He designated the weight of gold for all the gold articles to be used in various kinds of service, and the weight of silver for all the silver articles to be used in various kinds of service, the weight of gold for the gold lampstands and their lampstands, the weight for each lampstand and its lamps, and the weight of silver for each silver lampstand and its lamps, according to the use of each lampstand. The weight of gold for each the weight of gold for each table for consecrated bread, the weight of silver for the silver tables, the weight of pure gold for the forks, sprinkling bowls, and pitchers, the weight of gold for each gold dish, the weight of silver for each silver dish, and the weight of the refined gold for the altar of incense. He also gave him the plan for the chariot, that is, the cherubim of gold that spread their wings and overshadowed the ark of the covenant of Yahuwah. All this, David said, I have in writing as a result of Yahuwah's hand on me, and he enabled me to understand all the details of the plan. David also said to Solomon his son, be strong and courageous and do the work. Do not be afraid or be discouraged, for Yahuwah, my God, is with you. He will not fail you or forsake you until all the work for the service of the temple of Yahuwah is finished. The divisions of the priests and the Levites are ready for all the work on the temple of Yahuwah, and every willing person skilled in any craft will help you in all the work. The officials and all the people will obey your every command. And that, my beautiful people, is our reading from the scriptures for today. That was First Chronicles chapter 26, 27, and 28. So let's go ahead and hop on over here to Fossilized Customs. All right, y'all. We stopped on page 44. I think there was something else that I wanted to say about the reading that it like illuminated to me yesterday. Okay. Well, let me just read the reading today. It was about the name of Yah. I was like, ooh, that's so good. Let me go through the readings today. Okay, so we're starting with on page 44 and at the bottom section, right here, where they got the JC fish, right? Okay, it says, why the fish? It was a code to be used. It was a code to be interpreted by mystagogues, right? Okay. A conspiracy to conceal the name. Right. There we go. Let's see. Okay. A conspiracy to conceal the name. We've surveyed only a few examples of how the real name became veiled or concealed. If it is not known, how can we call Hebrew? Kara. Call. Oh, the Hebrew word is kara. Call. Call. The Hebrew is kara. Qara. Okay. If it is not known, how can we call on it and be so delivered as Yahu and Kepha said we must? Yahuwah says, my people will know my name. The prophet Jeremiah declared at 23:27. Hold on. Okay, so it says the prophet Jeremiah, and in parentheses it has Jeremiah. Note the ending IAH in many of the prophets' names. So we know that Yahuwah's people have his name, right? And a lot of people who don't necessarily have the Yah in their name, we see a lot of people actually adding that to their name or changing their name to let you know and to identify themselves as one of his, right? Like Jeremiah, Elijah, Elijah, I'm thinking all my kids' names. Isaiah, Josiah, y'all get it, right? So, but I didn't look. We named all of our children, not even knowing this because we were still in Christianity at the time. But the names, I was like, I like those names, so that's why all of our children have biblical names. Even Bella. Bella is actually her middle name. Her first name is actually Princess Ariel. And my husband, he actually chose Ariel. And I chose Princess. But did you also know that Ariel, and you can read it in Old Testament, Ariel is another name for Jerusalem, the holy city, right? So all of our children have biblical names, even down to Princess Ariel Bella. And we don't just call her Princess. Princess is actually on her social security card. It's Princess-Ariel Bella. Princess Ariel Bella. And Bella, if you didn't know, it means beautiful. Right? The beautiful city. The beautiful holy city, right? Okay. All right. That's our little thing. All right, let me finish reading this. Okay. The prophet Jeremiah, note the ending IAH in many prophets' names, declared at Jeremiah chapter 23, verse 27. They think the dreams they tell one another, and it has in parentheses, made up words and substitutions, will make my people forget my name, just as their fathers forgot my name through Baal. And in parentheses, it has Lord. Lying teachers of the people were misleading them, and their teachings were just being dreamed up. That's what spin doctors do. This was during the time the name was first being avoided, and they were substituting the term Adonai, which in Hebrew means my Lord. The Babylonians were worshiping the sun with the name Baal, meaning Lord, and were concealing the deity's real name from even their people. It was Dagon. It was Dagon, which later was Dagon to the Philistines. You can read about their half fish, half man image that kept falling down when the Philistines put the ark of Yahuwah in the temple of Dagon. You can read that in 1 Samuel chapters 4 and 5. So if y'all got them fish on your vehicles, snatch them off, burn them in a fire. The ark was called by the name of Yahuwah. 2 Samuel chapter 6, verses 1 through 2. The English word Lord isn't a name of any kind. It comes from the Celtic term, what is it? Lof weird. I may have pronounced that wrong. The H may be silent. It's HALF-WEARD, Lof weird, meaning keeper of the loaf. Monking, M-O-N-K, they're talking about monks, monking. So monking with the text have led to mutilation and replacement of original words. Some have said, if the King James Version was good enough for the apostles, then it's good enough for me. The KJV version provides us a great opportunity to see what was added because the words the translators added are printed in italics. But what was changed and omitted, they didn't tell us. Various printings revised the text, and after over 100 years, they were satisfied they had found all the typos. One of the printings in 1631, the seventh commandment was missing a word, not, the word not, N-O-T. So it appeared we were commanded to commit adultery. Let me read that again. One of the printings in 1631, the seventh commandment was missing a word, not. So it appeared we were commanded to commit adultery. The literal Hebrew only uses two words for the seventh commandment, and they are best translated, you do not break wedlock. Okay, so let's go into the next section, and it has the adulterous Bible. I'll show this. I see what this is. He screenshotted the typo where they put on the seventh command where it said, you shall not commit adultery. It omitted the not and the screenshot here. So they call this version, the 1631 King James Version Bible, they call this the adulterous Bible. So if you don't have the book, I'm going to try and get closer so you can see it. I hope it's not blurry. Okay. So right here, and it's right here, that's highlighted. See how it says, thou shalt commit adultery? It's missing the not, which we know it says, thou shalt not commit adultery, or thou shalt not break wedlock. Okay. I left it up there a little bit longer just in case somebody wanted to screenshot that for proof, just in case you ain't got the book yet. Okay. The KJV was called the Authorized Version and first printed in 1611. Translations are not inspired as the original prophets who wrote the words of Yahuwah in Hebrew. Scholars admit that of the 5,000 Greek manuscripts, which contain all or part of the New Testament, every one of these handwritten copies differ from every other one. These scholars confess there is not one sentence in the New Testament in which the manuscript tradition is wholly uniform. This is due to variants put in them deliberately and carelessly handling of the text, or many created for the theological or dogmatic reasons, right? And it says many created for theological and dogmatic reasons. So I know I mentioned it before, but I actually have a playlist of some of the things that have actually been created by Josephus and his brood or his family and those connected with them. And the main writers were actually members of Josephus' family. So some of that stuff is clearly made up stories, right? So some of the stuff in the New Testament is not actually true. It's fictional literature written by the Josephus to kind of try and add points in. So if you know that and you're reading it, you won't think that some of that stuff, this was, because it's not. is actually fiction, right? So there's a playlist in my playlist section, and I labeled it education, New Testament deception. I believe that's the one I named it. But if that's not it, just look at it. I think it's 3 playlists where I have education, New Testament, but you will notice it because it's older videos. There's an older gentleman who's going through the book that I told you about, that little pamphlet book. I know a couple people have ordered it already. It's called the True Authorship of the New Testament. And in that, it goes through and it shows you who wrote each of the books of the New Testament. Now, I know you hear in a lot of churches, at least I know I have in a few, that, they don't know who the writers of the New Testament is, or it's many writers. And Matthew wrote the book of Matthew and Luke wrote the book of Luke. No. They know who wrote every single book in the New Testament, and whether it is truly fiction or whether it is actual truth, right? So that does it gives a good explanation of that, and it has some references in there for you. So I make it available for those who will and who are ready to accept the truth. May Yah be with you, right? Look, so that's in my playlist. All right, let's see. These scholars confess there is not one sentence in the New Testament which the manuscript tradition is wholly uniform. This is due to variants put in them deliberately and carelessly handling of the text, or many created for theological or dogmatic reasons. The Greek text was being constantly interpreted and reinterpreted by each succeeding generation. In contrast, the consistency of the Hebrew text, which was copied with a reverent fear by the scribes, remains without discrepancy in its many copies. They would not change even one letter. Since the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls, the myth that the New Testament was inspired in the Greek language has been debunked. The Alexandrian cult church fathers were committed to the extermination of the Nazarene, or the followers of Yahuwah, and the texts they admitted were originally written in Hebrew. Dead Sea Scrolls in 12 caves at Qumran. In 1947, and we're on page 46. In 1947, a young Bedouin shepherd boy, Muhammad Ed-Dib, I may have pronounced that wrong, was in the northwestern area of the Dead Sea, chasing after one of his clever animals. The animal scrambled into a hole in the hillside. The boy couldn't easily get to him, so he threw some rocks in to spook him out. The boy heard a loud crashing sound like a jar breaking. He entered the cave called Cave 1 and discovered many jars with lids containing old scrolls. He took one of the scrolls to an antiquities dealer in town. It was found to be an ancient scroll written in Hebrew. He sold it, and the dealer was anxious to know where he found it. The discovery of the 12 caves containing the scrolls is the greatest archaeological discovery of our time. You usually do not hear why the scrolls were there, why the scrolls were stored in jars. As scrolls were used in the temple or congregations, they would wear out. They were carefully copied by scribes at a scrollery at Qumran. Qumran and the general area around it is where 12 caves are located, which contain the scrolls. The bulk of the scrolls were found in Cave 4. The idea of Qumran being associated with the Essene sect is only speculation, but certainly it was a community of some kind. So some of y'all may be familiar with these terms like the Essenes gospel, or you may have heard of the Qumran caves and stuff, but some of you may not have. I have my own thoughts about some of this stuff, and it could just be me still lacking some information, but some of it seems just a little suspect to me. And like I said, it could just be me still lacking information, but for the sake of kind of reading it, so you know, just if you've never heard of Qumran, that's where some of the Dead Sea Scrolls are found. You hear when you hear the Qumran caves, it kind of is simultaneously used with the Dead Sea Scrolls. So if you hear somebody say that, they're probably talking about the Dead Sea Scrolls, right? And the Essenes were people who they actually wrote a version of the New Testament. They called it the Essenes Gospel, and it's it's a different interpretation. I kind of read through some of it. I'm like, okay, and I just set it aside for a while. Okay, so I'm doing my proper research and just trying to see what's true and what's error. So just so you know, just in case this was the first time you heard those terms today. Okay. The idea of Qumran being associated with the Essene sect is only speculation, but certainly it was a community of some kind. At the site, they manufactured scrolls, copied them, and made the jars in the same facility from the materials nearby. Ink wells, long tables, and a pottery manufacturing area all add up to this conclusion. They would not discard or destroy a scripture scroll profanely, but bury it respectively. The reason is the worn scrolls contain the personal name of Yahuwah written on them. Oh yeah, look. So I ordered, and my sisters know because if you have them. So if you guys know what mezuzahs are, right? You will hear, like when we read the Shema in the morning, it says to post the commands of Yahuwah on your doors and on your gates and stuff. But the Jewish community kind of like took it a step further and they made mezuzahs, right? So they're almost like little, some of them are actually like bottles with scrolls in them, but inside of it, they have little scrolls on parchment paper and they're rolled up. So you can actually take them and unroll them. It'll probably be about this big. And it has the original, well, I ain't gonna say the original. It has modern Hebrew, like the block style letters in it, and it has the name of Yahuwah. But what they tell you when you order it, when I just read this, I thought about it. They tell you, like, if you ever discard it, be careful of how you handle this because it has the true name of Yahuwah on it. And because I know what it looks like in modern Hebrew and Paleo Hebrew, I was like, let me verify this. Okay, yep, his name is there. Okay. Not that I would destroy it in any way, but yeah, even today you can find that people tell you be careful how you handle like scriptures that have the name of Yah on it, out of respect. And I get that, and I think that's pretty cool. But I'm not destroying mine, so I actually will fix mezuzahs. We did a physical thing. Although we actually speak and we keep the commands of Yah and we teach our children and stuff. I didn't think it was a bad thing because we're actually keeping it. We're not just doing it because it's a religious thing. We actually got a mezuzah and we'll fix it on all the doors of our home, and not just our home, but also our business, So we got like 3 doors. We got a front door and a back door and a bay door for the dock, So we put one on the front and the back door of the office and warehouse and at the dock, So what we do at home, we carry it out in our business as well, right? So I just want to add it just in case you didn't know, right? So the little scrolls with Yahuwah's name on it. Okay. They would not discard or destroy a scripture scroll profanely, but bury it respectfully. The reason is the worn scrolls contain the personal name of Yahuwah written on them. As soon as they were discovered, a team of Jesuits formed a scroll team that secretly performed research on them. Very little was known about any of the scrolls for decades. Every person working with them was a Jesuit, and they still remain under their control. Clearly, we know, because they take them, they keep them, and they start making movies and getting rich off of the stuff, retelling stories, right? For those of us that know and waking up and we see it, right? Thanks, Slick. The scrolls are either in the Rockefeller Museum or the Shrine of the Book, both in Jerusalem. Every one of them has the name on them. Since the name is used 6,823 times more than any other word, you would think the scholars would bring it the recognition it deserves. Commonly, these men are sectarian, members of a denomination, or unbelievers that happen to be familiar with the ancient languages. Look up the word Lord in any concordance, Lord. Some scrolls that did not contain the name are absent, such as the scroll we call Esther. The scroll of Esther has the name in acrostic 4 times, but it is concealed from the pagan eyes. The scrolls of Tanakh, Baruch, Jubilees, and all the others we call Old Testament are present. The shrine of the book building is designed like a huge jar lid, designed like the cave jars. Okay, where we at? 105. Okay, Bible. Bible, a word not found in the inspired text. What do the scrolls call themselves? We use the traditional term scriptures, which is of Latin origin, scriptum, meaning handwriting. By far, the most common term we hear is Bible. The word Bible is not found anywhere in the text. This is a traditional term given to the inspired words by mankind. The term has been used for so long, people have come to accept it without question. Repetition does not make anything true. I say that again. Repetition does not make anything true. Yahusha never used the word Bible, neither did any Nazarite after him. No prophet uttered the word. It's not a translation for what the writings call themselves either. Luke 24:44 shows us what Yahusha called the writings. The term was, as he said, Torah, or in parentheses, law, Nabim, of prophets, and Ketubim, writings beginning with the Psalms. So the Torah, the prophets, and the writings. I call it the books of the law and the prophets, which you can include the writings with Psalms and Proverbs and stuff like that, right? So I try not, all the terms that I know that are pagan, I try to daily make sure I don't utter them. But until we're all on the same page, sometimes you gotta say like Bible, right? But I call it the instructions of Yah, the books of the law and the prophets, right? Okay. This is shortened to be the one word acronym Tanakh, TANAK. We use words like scuba and laser as acronyms, self-contained underwater breathing apparatus, light amplification by simulated emission of radiation. A scroll is the Hebrew word Megillah. A similar meaning is found in the word Sefer. The Bereans examined the scrolls, which we now call books. The Greek word biblia means the same. The scrolls the Bereans were examining were the Torah, the prophets, and the writings. They weren't consulting the King James Version. Paul was imprisoned, 2 Timothy 4:13, and requested his cloak for warmth and his scrolls, especially the parchments. He wasn't using oral law to rely on, but wanted to study the written word, the scripture of truth, as found in Daniel 10:21. Without the gift of the scriptures, we will have no authority on which to base the things we hear. We should never place our trust in anything oral, right? Okay. We should test everything by the living words of scripture, just as the Bereans did. People lie about what pleases Yahuwah all the time, saying he's changed and his orders do not apply to us. He says, I, Yahuwah, do not change. Malachi chapter 3, verse 6. Does Yahuwah like us to speak of pagan deities? Here's what he says about that. Be careful to do everything I have said to you. Do not invoke the names of other Elohim. Do not let them be heard on your lips. Exodus chapter 23, verses 13. Also found in Psalms chapter 16, verse 4. Today, we'll assume we can ignore little things like that and call the days of the week by Roman and Norse deities, even calling the planets by ancient idols' names. If we love him, we will do whatever pleases him. He watches us to see if there is any who understand. He is big enough to hold the universe together and knows where every hair is on your head. He knows if you care to. He knows your dreams, thoughts, and motives. No created being can know what he knows. Okay, yeah. Okay, so we'll finish reading page 47 and 48, and then we'll stop with legalism and pick up legalism tomorrow. But I think this is good. Okay, all right. The origin of the word Bible. This word was originally based on the name of a pagan deity of fertility adopted by the Greek and Latin languages. It means books in Greek. Today, we see it written on the cover and commentary of text of what we call our Bibles. It is not one of those terms Scripture calls itself. From the fertility deity, the word became the name of a port city, P-O-R-T, a port city, like you pull into a port. Excuse me. From the fertility deity, the word became the name of a port city that exported papyrus, so scrolls, or what we call books, came to be called by the names of this port. A city called Biblios. Don't let the Y fool you. There is no Y in Greek. The port was about 50 miles north of Sidon, and you will see it on your maps in your Bible. The reason the city was named I said Biblios. It's not. I think it's Biblos. I'm sorry. Okay. Biblos. Don't let the Y fool you. There is no Y in Greek. This port was about 50 miles north of Sidon, and you will see it on your maps in your Bible. The reason the city was named Biblos is because they worshiped a fertility deity named Biblia, and her temple was there. Calling the words of Yahuwah by the name of Biblos, Bible, is yet another trick. Father, forgive us all, right? The books of the law and the prophets. Schemes of all kinds have been able to deceive the whole world, and hardly any seek to learn what we say and do can be found in the Tanakh or Nazarene writings. Let me read that again. Schemes of all kinds have been able to deceive the whole world, and hardly any seek to learn if what we say and do can be found in the Tanakh or Nazarene writings. Paul wept for what he knew. Would happen, and Yuchanan or Yahuchanan or John and Yahuchanan wrote the revelation of Yahusha, which illustrated to him how Babylon would fill the earth and collapse on the day of Yahuwah. He searches for any who understand. Without wisdom, his Torah cannot be understood. In the past, he let all nations go their own way, yet he did not leave himself without testimony. Acts chapter 14, verses 16 and 17. In the past, Elohim overlooked such ignorance, but now he commands all people everywhere to repent, for he has set a day when he will judge the world with justice by the man whom he has appointed. He has given proof of this to all men. Okay, let me say this. I'm going to read this like this say. And then I'm going to read this like this say. Okay. And then we're going to bring proper interpretation to this. In the past, Elohim overlooked, or Yahuwah overlooked such ignorance, but now he commands all people everywhere to repent. For he has set a day when he will judge the world with justice by the man whom he has appointed. He has given proof of this to all men by raising him from the dead. Acts 17, 30 through 31. And this message of the kingdom shall be preached in the whole world as a testimony to the nations, and then the end will come. Matthew 24, 14. So remember how we was talking about, you have to remember when you get to the New Testament, they began to lump all of Israel into one person. And Yahuwah did it, But the way it's taught, people don't understand how Yahuwah talks about his son, right? Although we can single people out, you can call me a son or daughter of Yah, right? Just for the sake of scriptures, let's use the word son, although it does use daughters. But when he refers to his people or his son, he's not talking about one single person. He's talking about the whole of us, right? Who descends from Jacob, right? How can we prove this? I said it yesterday. Yahuwah told Pharaoh, let my people go, or let my son go that he may worship me. And did he mean just one person out of all them people that they were holding in bondage? No. Every time you hear Yahuwah say son, if you keep reading, he'll say he, but then he'll transition it to they, right? Son to Yahuwah, although son is a singular word in the English language, when Yahuwah talks about it, it's plural. And I hope this is making sense. Just like it's almost like family, right? Family, like I have a family. We're when you look at my house, this is one family. But this one family consists of many members, right? Like my one body, but I consist of many members, right? Just like Yahuwah's family. He said, we are one. My family is one, like I am one. We are echad, right? Or echad, Echad, which means one. Perfect unity. We are perfect as one unit, right? He said, let my son go that they may worship me, or let my people go that they may worship me, right? Like I said yesterday, that's why they had the plague of the firstborn, because Egypt was killing Yahuwah's firstborn, all his people. He said, I'm going to kill the firstborn of your nation. That's why all the firstborn men, women, beasts, anything that was born first, the first year crop, everything died. Firstborn, you got to go to, right? All of them died, right? All of them, because Yahuwah does everything measure for measure, measure for measure, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, foot for a foot, arm for arm, life for a life, right? We did a message. Go find it. It's measure for measure. And we explained some of that as we was going through Legends of the Jews or Legends of the Hebrews, right? So Yahuwah says, let my son go. So now back to what he says here. Now we understand what Yahuwah means by his son, his firstborn son. We, the descendants of Jacob's sons and daughters, men, women, and all of our children too. All who descend from that bloodline. I'm not discounting anybody else, but for the sake of family, let's handle some family business real quick, right? So when you get to the New Testament and it begins talking about Yahuwah's son raising from the dead, you should be able to connect that to Ezekiel when it's talking about the valley of the dry bones. Can these dead bones live again? Yes, they can. Begin to speak life to them. That's what we're doing. We're speaking life. The words of Yahuwah to Israel, who has been dead over the last 400 plus years, right? Speak to these bones, son of man, that these bones may live again. Israel is raising from the dead. And as Israel, Yahuwah's son, raises from the dead, we begin to speak the words of life and fire from our Father, who has put his spirit inside of us, that the nations may hear and be turned to Yah and be saved. Yahuwah's son is who brings salvation to the world, not one man, the whole of our family. All of us should be speaking the message, repent, for the reign of Yahuwah draweth nigh. Right? Not the reign of one man, but Yahuwah is giving the keys of his kingdom to his son, not one person, but the multiple members of his son. The earth is a vast place which belongs to him. He said, the earth is mine and all that is therein, right? And the keys of the kingdom is given to the firstborn. Why the firstborn? Because we're not it. There are many more, right? Yahuwah has many more sons, and there are the other nations. He told Abraham, he said, you are going to be the father of many nations, right? And the firstborn, who he gives the keys of the kingdom to, we will rule righteously, and we will teach the truth of who Yahuwah is, so that these other nations can come into his kingdom and be saved. Repent, for the kingdom of Yahuwah draweth nigh, right? I am a son of Yah. I have risen from the dead. I have come out of the belly of the beast, out of false doctrine, now teaching the true words of Yah, right? And what is the word of Yah? That he saved. He is the only deliverer. He is the only Messiah of his people, the blood-born and those who come from other nations, right? The other nations, don't matter what color, what ethnicity you are. He said, if you come into my house, I will treat you like sons and daughters, right? And he told even some of them, he said, some of you, I would give a better name than my own sons and daughters, right? Y'all got to read this. This is so good. Don't get it all chopped and screwed and misaligned when you get over into the New Testament thinking and your focus is only one man that they said died and rose again on the third day. It is Yahuwah's firstborn who has been murdered and who he has risen from the dead. We are returning to our former selves. We are returning to our proper identities. All things, all lives are being uncovered so the world can plainly see the truth, right? Listen, and let's read that again with the proper understanding of who the Son is and when he rises from the dead. Look, without wisdom, his Torah, it cannot be understood. In the past, he let all nations go their way, yet he did not leave himself without testimony. Acts 14, 16, and 17. In the past, Yahuwah, and here it has Elohim, Yahuwah overlooked such ignorance, but now he commands all people everywhere to repent, for he has set a day when he will judge the world with justice by the man whom he has appointed. He has given proof of this to all men by raising him from the dead. Acts 17, 30 and 31. And this is the message of the kingdom. And this message of the kingdom shall be preached in the whole world as a testimony to the nations, and then the end will come. Matthew 24, 14. Okay. We'll read this about worship, then we're gonna stop. Because I wanted to read this, but then let's learn about what proper worship is. What is worship? And we know that worship defines who you are marked by. Okay, so you hear about the mark of the beast. If you're not serving Yahuwah alone, you are by default walking around with the beast mark on your life. It ain't coming, it's already here, people. What is worship? The word worship is two words. Worth, like what are you worth? W-O-R-T-H, and ship, S-H-I-P. The word worship is two words, worship. It simply means the outward showing of respect and esteem to a higher authority. The key elements necessary are fear and humility, and ultimately love. Fear is not used in a sense of terror, but rather respect for another's awesome power and authority. The Hebrew concept basically always has been termed obedience or obeisance, or the statute or the status of a servant who obeys his master. Our word obey comes from the Hebrew word obad, O-B-A-D, or servant. The prophet Obadiah means servant of Yah. The generosity and fatherhood of Yahuwah demands his creatures to return praise and recognition. He has feelings, wrath, humor, compassion, jealousy, and a desire to have an intimate relationship with each of us. Yahushua calls us his brothers and sisters. The writings of the Tanakh, or the books of the law and the prophets and the writings, and not some writings, show his love for us by providing the rules for living in peace, and it is the perfect book of law. It is a light for us to walk in, and without it, we stumble in darkness. He has literally created us to be part of his family. Worship is action we perform and is seen outwardly as obedience. It is the expression of our core belief. Belief without works or outward action is dead. In the hands of men, this worship has become perverted, and we serve another entity, deceived by diversion tactics. Very few understand that Yahuwah expects them to obey his instructions, and instead most obey the traditions of men. Worship is not something we do only one day each week. We obey every day. We must adopt the pattern of living to see in the 10 words or commandments. Hold on. We must adopt the pattern of living what we see in the 10 words or the 10 commandments. They teach us how to love. They are the living waters and the food which Yahuwah, hold on, and the food which Yahusha desired Peter to feed his sheep. Today, the sheep are being fleeced and empowering the predators or wolves who parasitically plunder them and lead them from obeying Yahuwah. The parable about the hirelings who work in the vineyard while the owner is away shows us that they want the business for themselves. Matthew 21:33-45. The world is a vineyard. Yahuwah dwells in his temple, his people who make up the living stones. Yahusha threw the merchants out of the man-made temple who had turned it into a den of thieves. Instead of being a place of worship and learning, it had become defiled because tradition had turned worship into a business. Today's clergy has become what the temple priests and scribes had been at the temple times, yet they don't seem to be aware of it. They are plundering the flock and usurping the promises without obeying the covenant. One cannot claim to be a fellow citizen of Israel and ignore the everlasting covenant. And that, my beautiful people, is where we will pause today on page 48. I hope y'all enjoyed the reading today. That was Fossilized Customs, page 44-48. And we already said we read earlier, First Chronicles 26, 27, and 28. And if y'all missed the intro about what this video is going to be named today, I'm naming this video today, Them, right? So if you missed the intro, what I talked about that and the and how you should go watch that series. But first, watch the 30-minute review by Benayah Israel. If you missed that, you got to go back to the beginning of this video today when this ends, and you have to watch that, right? And you will see exactly what I'm talking about. So I hope you all get a chance to look at that, and over the coming days we can kind of chat about it a little bit. But with that being said, y'all, let's go ahead and do the blessing. It is Saturday, May the 8th, 2021. This is day 148 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets. And of the 3-year consecutive day count is day 817. And that's just with the days we have been present. It doesn't include the Sabbath days where we rest, like Yahuwah has commanded us to, right? Okay. So the blessing is found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22-27. Like I always say, the first 21 verses is the Nazirite vow. A man or a woman can take it, right? And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, May Yahuwah bless us and keep us. May Yahuwah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon us and give us his peace, or his shalom. And they shall put my name, whose name? Yah's name, Yahuwah's name, and they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. Who will bless us? Yah will bless us. Nobody else. Nobody else will bless us but Yah and Yah alone. We don't pray to anybody else but Yah. We don't do our prayers in anybody else's name but Yah alone, because it is him that all our blessings flow from. Ever since we took our first breath into this world. All right, y'all. I love y'all. And I will see y'all back here tomorrow morning, 7:30 a.m., bright and early Eastern Standard Time. Guys, go watch this series. I'm about to post the links in here so you can see. I'm sure you guys probably put up. It's on Amazon Prime. Watch y'all hear me. If you want, you don't have to watch the review first. But for you that you kind of have sensitive spirits in it's called Them, Hezekiah, THEM, Them. Just type in Them. on Amazon Prime. That's what it's called. But hold on, I'm sorry, I should have did this. Them, because other people may watch it. Them on Amazon Prime. Right. And if you got Prime, it's free. If you don't have Prime, you may have to purchase it. And I'm not sure what it is because I have Prime. So it comes in the Prime videos. Anything that has Prime listed on it is free for you to watch. Not necessarily because you're paying an annual membership to have Prime, but also Benayah Israel. I'm gonna post his link too. I'm gonna put it in the comments and description. Watch this first, then watch this. But for those of you who like to do your own reviews, not saying that you take everything and be, you get what I'm saying. But if you want to watch it first and formulate and see if you can pull all the spiritual principles from it first before you hear him, then hear what he has to say to see how much on track you were, then do that as well. But I did. He just did the review yesterday. We watched this a couple weeks ago. We talked about it, and me and my cousin, we talked on the phone for a little while, Shayla, and I was like, Shayla, I want to bring this up to people. I was like, but because of the nature of everything in it, I don't necessarily know how to bring it in because some people may not be ready for this, but it'll be a really good resource. But thank you, y'all, for hearing my prayer, right? He had somebody else to do it, and he did a friggin' amazing job because he hit every point on the stuff we talked about and what we pulled out and what we was able to see, the spiritual principles, like the spiritual, you will see it all the way through the series. Like I said, it's only 10 episodes. Each episode is averaging about an hour, almost an hour. But you got to be prepared because it hits into the slavery, and it does an awesome job of starting off how we had it. It starts off with a black couple and how like we had everything, and then it goes in and a preacher guy from another nation, he was like, you broke a covenant and we have authority literally to tear you limb from limb because you forsook your God. I'm like, they know this, right? And so it does a good job, but all the heart-wrenching stuff is there, from the killing of the babies. So that's why I say you don't watch it with your children. Please do not watch it with your children. If you want to let your teenagers watch it, please still do not let them watch it before you watch it first, right? Because especially our generation, our children in this generation, you will see what I'm saying when you watch it. If you want to let your teenagers watch it, you are going to have to sit down with them first. Like, you literally going to have to walk through everything with them first before you let them put their eyes on it, right? Because if they don't understand, it's going to pull them in the wrong direction. And we want to use it as a teaching tool. So it is. Shayla is mind-blowing. But it will. So I did the long preface, like I said in the beginning. I did the long preface to prepare you if you want to go see it, and you're not going to be able to binge. I mean, some of you may. I wasn't able to binge watch it. I had to stop. After I watched the first, I'm like, I'm going to watch the second one. After the second one, I had to stop. And I waited. It was like 2 days. I was like, let me go back to this. I was like, I ought to call my aunt, my cousin right now. I was like, why y'all tell me to watch this crap? I'm all pissed and agitated and got me looking at people like, let's go. What you want to? But I had to call my, I was like, all right, Father, help me, because they told me to watch this. They told me it was principles, and I was like, okay, these principles better hurry up and pop up because I'm getting pissed about this all over again. But that's what I'm telling you, because it's going to come up, right? So don't try and watch it while you at work, or listen to it while you at work. If you work a desk job, I'm telling you, you don't want to do it. You don't want to do it. Just wait till you off work at home. You get some time to do it and just kind of go through it. You can have your scriptures out with you if you want to look stuff up, but just go through it. And then, like I said, the principles really start coming out, and even how we wake up from our slumber, and it goes. And I thought it was so good how they did this, especially with the woman, right? Okay. And I know I say it a lot, and I pray for my brothers and sisters, like and some of them could be plants by the government, whatever. But when it got to this, it made me think about the people, our people who wake up I call, I'm gonna have to stop doing that. You hear me refer to them as the hate brews, right? It's the Hebrews. They got the garb on and stuff, and they standing on the corner and they out there angry, But when I got to that part, I'm like, ooh, I'm like, Father, forgive me. So I'm gonna have to quit referring to my brothers as hate brews, because like I understand, because as Yahuwah was waking me up, that anger was there for weeks. And Yahuwah told me, he said, you have to move past the anger, right? You have to move past the anger. And so as I moved past the anger, I was like, okay. So when you're able to move past the anger, you're able to keep growing. So every time I see them, I see that they have gotten stuck and they have not been able to move past the anger. So Yahuwah can begin the healing process. So now he can heal us and we can go back and get our brothers and sisters, right? And bring them back to the truth when you have been healed, right? Go back and get your brothers and sisters. So I'm praying for my brothers and sisters on the corner, wherever they at, still in anger. I'm praying that they'll move past the anger and allow Yahuwah to heal them and move them on, because we need them. We need y'all, right? Y'all got it. Let Yahuwah heal that and move. We got to go get more of our brothers and sisters, right? They can stand there. We can help them move past this anger. So that's, like I said, I just keep reiterating some of this stuff, because you are going to get angry. Like, you're going to get pissed. So that's why I said watch the 30-minute review by Benayah Israel first, right? And then go through the series, y'all. Can you recap the anger? I've been having trouble with it. Okay. Joseph, I'm glad you came in, bro. Shalom. Okay, so when Yahuwah wakes us up to who we really are, and we begin to realize that there is another whole nation of people who have assumed our identity, first of all, we get pissed about it. And not just that, but everything. And we'll begin to look over the generations. So even in our current generation today, we'll see how it's like we always land at the bottom of the barrel, right? It's like every other nation they become the head and we become the tail. But as we look at these things, if we don't know the words of Yah, we will not realize it's because of our own disobedience that we are where we are today. And what happens is, a lot of people, they begin to wake up and they be like, oh, the white man this and the white man that. And I get that. And I try not to use those terms, but so for the sake of teaching and understanding, so you can understand what I'm saying, people get stuck right there. And you done held us down, oppressed us, and slavery and all this stuff. Yes, that's true. That's a part of it, right? And yes, they did go over and beyond what Yahuwah authorized them to do. Yahuwah also addresses that, right? He said when he deals with the nations, he's going to address every single thing that they have done over what he authorized them to do, right? Like the cutting of the women's stomach open and pulling the babies out and feeding our babies to alligators and the raping of our women, all of these things Yahuwah said he was going to address, because the only thing that they should have done when they took us captive is to put us to hard labor, right? And we were to become their servants, or like their employees, whatever, and we were to build for them, right? They were simply, in today's term, they were simply to take us and have us doing all the hard labor stuff, right? And them benefiting off of us. Like the world, Yahuwah told Abraham, he said, all the nations are going to be blessed through your seed. Now, if you want to look at it on both sides, you can see it on both sides. The nations, the world have been blessed by the things our people have done, but a lot of times, except for like the recent years and stuff over the years, where our people are now getting recognition for their own inventions and stuff. But even with the music, doing like 20, I mean, it's recently, it's like 20 years ago when music would come out, even in like different labels like Motown or what, until like the black label started getting started. You had labels who were owned by other nations using black voices but putting white faces on it, things like that, not giving our people recognition for the gifts and stuff, or have our people building up things. You do this, you got this invention, make this better room, I take this, I'm gonna put my name on it. Thank you for that. Yeah, this is my invention, and they get all the money and all the accolades. And Yahuwah said it would happen. He said they're going to become the head, and you're going to become the tail. They're going to rise higher and higher, and you're going to go lower and lower. Why? Because you wouldn't keep my commands. You would not keep the commands of my house, right? Daddy said, when you don't keep the commands of my house, how I rule my kingdom, son, you got to go. We'll see how you like them treating you out there, because everything is nice and cool when you're in my kingdom, and everything is ruled righteously over here. But since you can't follow these rules, you gotta go. And I'm gonna keep track of everything. I got my eye on you, but don't call for me. Don't call for me. You call on them. You want to be with them so bad, you call on them, and you see how good they treat you, and we see how good they treated us. Right now, we know current generations things are turning, getting better. Yahuwah said the captivity is over, and He's going to begin to return us to ourselves. We're going to begin to come. It says you're going to begin to come to yourselves in the land of your captivity. And you'll read this in Jubilees as well. It said you'll begin to come to yourselves in the land of your captivity and realize, and I'm just summing it up, you're going to realize why you were in the state you're in, and you're going to begin to return to my laws and my statutes and command, and then we'll begin to see the curses breaking and things restored to us. He'll begin to restore our families, heal us, not just spiritually, but mentally. A lot of our people, there's a lot of mental issues going on in our community amongst the African American, a Negro, a Niji, or whatever you want to call colored people. But when you see us, the ones who have been the slaves of all nations, right? And that's another thing. That's how everybody will know. And that's also a part of the curse. Yahuwah said you will become the slaves of all nations, right? They just split us up, and you get some slaves, and you get some slaves, and you get some slaves too. Build y'all lands up. These people are good, right? And it says that. And when they came, that's what they took. They took the best of us, and they dispersed us all over the world, because Yahuwah had endowed gifts and talents into His people. Those who come into His kingdom, Daddy gives you good gifts. So He said all the other nations are going to be blessed through your seed, Abraham. Even in slavery, although they'll retain their gifts, but the nations are going to benefit. And then you get to Obadiah. Was it that's not what I was looking for, but I believe it was Zephaniah, where Yahuwah begins to look. And he said, he pretty much sent out his force. Give me a report. What's going on with my people that I didn't have scattered? He said, the nations are living peaceful and quiet, But if you read that wrong, if you don't understand who the people are, you're going to get the wrong interpretation of that. But if you read a little bit further, it said the nations are at peace and they're quiet, but your people are crying out. They have done them so dirty. They are so, and some people just read that and they just forget about the rest of the chapter. And the next few chapters, Yahuwah is going off, and He is defending His people, right? He said, you nations, sit up here. I gave you my children. They built your lands. They brought you much wealth, and you treated them this way. Although He knew what was going to happen, He said, now I got to deal with you, because I only told you to use them to build your lands, but you didn't diluted their blood. You didn't rape and killed women and men. You sold the children. You're selling them for alcohol, right? You sell women for alcohol. You split up the children. You're turning the men into women, the women into men. All these things that the nations have done, and He's pissed about this, and He's coming to judge the nations, right? So now that we know all this, when we read in the scriptures and we can see this real time, even in our day, and as we look back through history, we're like, yeah, you have always been faithful to us, to always tell us the truth, right? And when they see that, they get stuck. And they get stuck in the anger, like, I'm pissed about this. Y'all been doing this, and they know Yah is going to defend His people, and that's what they say. He coming, He gonna tear y'all heads off. He gonna do everything to you that you did to us. The Sabians coming in to get y'all, and y'all thought what happened to us was bad, right? what is going to happen to you is going to be way worse. And you're going to get double for 1,000 generations, right? We have 400 years. Y'all going to get 1,000 years of this terror that you inflicted upon us these last 400 years, right? And so that's where they stay. But they stay out here hollering at the other nations where they should be allowing Yahuwah to heal them. We should be allowing Yahuwah to heal us, pull us out of that anger as we learn the truth. Switch that over. And then Yahuwah, okay, now I gotta cleanse you up. I need to put you on post. This is the post I want you to stand. I need you to stay here. Stay in your post. Teach the truth. Point them into the direction of me. This is the way. Walk ye in it. Teach them to put away the names of all the other gods that they have worshipped, that they have been born into. We have been born into a system that all we know is pagan gods. He said, teach them the truth. Teach them about me. This is the way. Walk ye in it. And this is why I stand my post faithfully every day without fail. He gave me one day to rest. Every other day, I'm on my post, right? Some days I may be running a little bit late because I don't want to turn the bed loose. Or shenanigans going on in my background. Everybody calm down. But I know my post. I stand my post. And hopefully Yahuwah will show you your post and you will be just as faithful with standing your post wherever it is. You know, even if it's nothing where it's live, it could be something that's never seen. But nevertheless, it's just as important as those parts of the body that are seen, right? The things that we see are important and they have important jobs, but the things that we cannot see, the things that are covered, the people that we cannot see working behind the scenes, they are the life-giving parts that if they didn't stand their post, the body would die. Just like what you use to go use the bathroom to release waste. If your whole rectal system, if that was not in its proper place, the entire body would die, right? The things that have I guess some people, and you see a scripture in the New Testament, I'm saying this wrong, but y'all get what I'm saying. The things that don't, I guess let me say it this way. Some of the dirtiest parts, or the parts that get the dirtiest, are the most needed parts, right? We need the parts of our body that help us to excrete waste, right? The liquid and the solid, we need them parts, because if they start malfunctioning and the things that help them function, the cleaner parts that help them to filter, there is going to be a part of the body that deals with nothing but what we consider as solid waste. Think about the people who need the healing from the mental issues, people who have been through heart-wrenching things like being raped and molested. We need people to stand those posts, to help people and to filter, to keep the body clean. We need people standing those posts, right? Everybody has a post. But everybody's post, whether your part gets more honor and it's adorned like the head, or whether you are completely covered and nobody can ever see you, you are needed, right? You're needed for the entire overall health of our body, of our people, of Yahuwah's son. So please don't get stuck in the anger. Allow Yahuwah to teach you, to move you past it, give you wisdom, and put you on a post and stand your post, because everybody is going to pass through your post at one time or another, and you should be found faithful daily. Standing your post, people. All right, so that's it. I love y'all. Feel myself getting all teary-eyed and stuff, and I need to stop. Pull myself together. All right, y'all. I love y'all. Oh, so Joseph, I hope that answered your question, right? Okay, so with that being said, y'all, I love y'all. I see y'all back here in the morning, 7:30 is Sunday, 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You're welcome, Shayla. Love y'all. Bruce.